Ladies and gentlemen, when we walk through life, there are moments we encounter a barrier, a roadblock so firm it feels immovable. We've planned, we've prayed, we've worked tirelessly, yet the door refuses to open. It's natural to feel frustrated, confused, even abandoned. But let me tell you today, a blocked path does not signify rejection. It is often divine redirection. You see, God does not operate within the limits of human understanding. He sees what you cannot see. He knows the storms ahead, the pitfalls you are unaware of, and the distractions that may derail you. When He blocks your path, it is because He is protecting you from what your vision is too small to grasp. He is not saying no to your destiny. He's saying yes to a better one. Have you ever considered that what you call a delay is God's preparation for something greater? We often want things now, but God works in seasons, not seconds. The blockage in your way is His way of orchestrating circumstances that will bring His purpose into your life. He is aligning the pieces, setting the stage, and preparing you for a revelation far beyond your imagination. Sometimes the obstacle is not about where you are going, but about who you are becoming. God is more invested in your character than your comfort. He knows that your calling requires refinement, and refinement often happens in the wilderness of waiting. When He blocks a door, He might be teaching you patience, trust, or faith. He may be building resilience for the battles you'll face on the other side. We must also understand that some paths are blocked because they were never ours to walk. What looks good to us is not always God's best for us. A detour is not a denial, it's divine direction. When the Israelites wandered in the desert, it wasn't because God had forgotten them, it was because He was leading them to a land flowing with milk and honey. The longer route often hides the richest blessings. If you're facing a closed door today, don't force it open. Don't waste your energy trying to pry apart what God has shut. Instead, ask Him, what do you want me to see? What are you teaching me? Where are you leading me? As you do, listen. Listen with a heart of surrender, because His plans for you are not just good, they are perfect. The truth is, blocked paths often reveal what we have idolized. When we place more value on our plans than on God's purpose, He intervenes to remind us that He alone is the source. The blockage may be His way of tearing down the false gods of ambition, pride, or self-reliance so that we can fully trust Him. Remember, this God is not a God of wasted journeys. Every step, even the ones that seem like setbacks, are steps toward His ultimate design for your life. So when your path is blocked, don't despair, lift your eyes. For beyond the closed door lies an open heaven, and beyond your frustration lies His fulfillment. Trust Him, and you will see. When God blocks your path, it's often a call to shift your perspective. We are so accustomed to moving forward, to striving and pressing on, that we rarely stop to ask why things aren't working. A blocked path forces you to pause. It's in that pause that God speaks, revealing what you've been too busy to notice. Perhaps the closed door is His way of reminding you that you were never in control to begin with. It's not about what you can achieve, it's about what He can accomplish through you. Consider this: a seed cannot grow unless it is planted in the right soil. If you're trying to grow in a place that wasn't meant for you, God will block your progress. He doesn't want you to waste your energy on barren ground. Instead, He redirects you to fertile soil where His plans can flourish. What looks like a setback is, in fact, divine gardening. He uproots you from where you were never meant to be so He can plant you in a space where your purpose will thrive. Many times we are so fixated on what we want that we overlook the subtle warnings God sends our way. The path ahead may appear clear to us, but God sees the danger, the distractions, and even the destruction that lies ahead. He sees the relationships that will harm you, the opportunities that will lead you astray, and the paths that will pull you away from His purpose. When he blocks your path, he's not punishing you, he's preserving you. We live in a world that celebrates movement, progress, speed. But God values timing over tempo. What feels like delay to you is actually his perfect timing unfolding. He knows when you're ready and when you're not. A door that is closed today may open tomorrow, but only when your heart, your mind, and your spirit are prepared to step through it. Until then, he asks you to trust him, even when you don't understand. Trust is not just a feeling, it's an act of surrender. A declaration that you believe his way is better than yours. Sometimes God blocks your path to deepen your dependence on him. We like to think we can navigate life on our own, that we have the wisdom and strength to figure it all out. But the truth is, apart from him, we are lost. A blocked path humbles us. It brings us to our knees and reminds us that he is the vine and we are the branches. Without him, we can do nothing. It's in those moments of stillness when we have no choice but to lean on him that our faith is strengthened. And what about the times when the blockage is not external but internal? When the thing standing in your way is not a circumstance but your own fear, doubt, or pride. God blocks your path to confront what's in your heart. He knows that if you proceed without addressing those inner barriers, you'll stumble further down the road. So he stops you not to frustrate you, but to heal you. He wants to remove the weights that are holding you back so you can walk freely into your destiny. Let's not forget that God is a God of process. He doesn't just hand you the promise, he prepares you for it. The preparation often feels like a blockage because it requires waiting, trusting, and enduring. But if you rush the process, you'll miss the lessons he's trying to teach you. Joseph had a dream of greatness, but before he could see it fulfilled, he had to endure the pit, the prison, and years of waiting. Each step was part of the preparation, molding him into the leader God needed him to be. When your path is blocked, ask yourself, what is God preparing me for? It's also important to recognize that not every blocked path is permanent. Sometimes God says not yet instead of no. The door may be closed for now, but it doesn't mean it will stay closed forever. David was anointed king as a young shepherd, but he didn't take the throne immediately. He had to wait to learn to grow. The anointing was there, but the timing was not. A blocked path is often God's way of saying, wait, I'm not done yet. On the other hand, there are times when the blockage is a clear no. And that's where our faith is truly tested. Can you trust God when his answer is final? Can you let go of your plans, your desires, and your dreams to embrace his will? It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because his no is not a rejection, it's a redirection. It's his way of steering you towards something better, something you would have never chosen on your own, but will one day realize was exactly what you needed. One of the most profound things about God's ways is that they are often hidden. He doesn't always explain himself. He doesn't always give you a clear picture of what's ahead. Instead, he asks you to walk by faith, not by sight. When he blocks your path, it's an invitation to trust him more deeply, to rely on his wisdom instead of your own. It's a call to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with the assurance that he goes before you. Sometimes the blockage is not about you at all. It's about the people you're called to impact. God may delay your progress because he's aligning other people and circumstances to intersect with your journey. He is weaving a tapestry so intricate that you can't see the full picture. Your detour may be someone else's miracle. The job you didn't get may lead you to the coworker who needs to hear your story. The relationship that ended may position you to meet someone who will change your life forever. God's plans are never just about you. They are always about his greater purpose. And let's not overlook the fact that a blocked path often brings clarity. When one door closes, it forces you to consider doors you might have ignored. It's in the process of seeking God for direction that you discover new possibilities, new passions, and new purposes. A blockage redirects your focus, sharpens your vision, and aligns your heart with His will. We often think of blocked paths as obstacles, but they are opportunities in disguise. Opportunities to grow, to learn, to trust, and to step into the fullness of what God has for us. They strip away our illusions of control and remind us that we are part of a bigger story, a divine narrative written by the Creator of the universe. So if you find yourself standing before a blocked path today, remember this: it is not the end of your journey, it is a part of it. God is not finished with you. The closed door, the detour, the delay, they are all part of His plan to shape you, to guide you, and to prepare you for what lies ahead. Trust Him, for His ways are higher than yours, and His plans are far greater than you can imagine. Keep your eyes on Him, and you will see. When you encounter a blocked path, it's essential to understand that God is not surprised by what you're facing. The same God who placed the stars in the heavens and set the boundaries of the oceans is intimately aware of your situation. He is not caught off guard by your disappointment or delay. Every step you take has been carefully planned, and the blocked path is part of that plan. It may not feel like it in the moment, but the very thing that feels like resistance is often God's hand at work, guiding you away from something that could harm you or lead you off course. There is a refining power in waiting. When God blocks your path, He often uses that time to purify your motives. Sometimes we pursue things for reasons that are not aligned with His purpose. We may seek success for validation, relationships for comfort, or opportunities for self-glory. A blocked path creates a space to examine our hearts, to ask why we want what we want, and to allow God to realign our desires with His will. It's in the waiting that our motives are tested and refined, and we emerge with a clearer understanding of what truly matters. God's blocked paths are also a call to deeper intimacy with Him. In our pursuit of goals and dreams, it's easy to become so focused on the destination that we neglect the one who is leading us. A blockage forces us to stop, to sit in His presence, and to listen. It is in those quiet moments of surrender that we experience His peace, His guidance, and His love in ways we never could when we were busy striving. He longs for relationship more than results, for connection more than accomplishment. When He blocks your path, it's His way of saying, come closer. I have something to show you. Blocked paths often expose our dependence on human understanding. We try to make sense of everything, to analyze and rationalize what's happening, but God's ways are higher than ours. His plans are not limited by logic or constrained by time. What feels like a detour to us is a direct route in His divine map. Faith requires that we let go of our need to understand and trust that He is working all things together for our good, even when we can't see how. God also uses blocked paths to teach us obedience. It's easy to obey when everything is going smoothly, but true obedience is tested in the face of disappointment. When the door doesn't open, will you still trust Him? When the answer isn't what you wanted, will you still follow Him? Obedience is not about getting what we want. It's about aligning our will with His. It's saying, not my will, but yours be done even when it's hard. And in that obedience we find freedom, because we are no longer bound by our own limited plans, but are released into the limitless possibilities of His purpose. Another thing to consider is that blocked paths often reveal the idols in our lives. When something we desire becomes so important that it consumes our thoughts and dictates our actions, it takes the place of God in our hearts. A blockage forces us to confront those idols and to surrender them. It's a painful process, but it's necessary for our growth. God will not compete with the idols we create. He will lovingly dismantle them so that He alone is the center of our lives. In the end, we realize that what we thought we couldn't live without was never meant to sustain us. There is also a transformative power in surrender. When we finally let go of our plans and embrace His, we discover a peace that surpasses all understanding. Surrender is not about giving up, it's about giving over. It's saying, God, I trust you more than I trust myself. I believe that your plans are better than mine. Even when I don't understand them, that kind of trust doesn't come naturally. It's forged in the fire of waiting, disappointment, and surrender. And it's in that fire that we are refined, purified, and made ready for what lies ahead. Blocked paths often bring clarity to our priorities. When the thing we've been pursuing is no longer an option, we are forced to evaluate what truly matters. Sometimes we realize that we've been chasing things that have no eternal value, things that will fade away. A blockage redirects our focus to what is lasting, to what is meaningful, to what aligns with God's kingdom. It strips away the distractions and helps us see what is truly important. There's also a deep sense of humility that comes with encountering a blocked path. It reminds us that we are not in control, that we are not the authors of our own stories. Humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, it's about recognizing that we are part of something much bigger than ourselves. A blocked path brings us to our knees, not in defeat, but in reverence. It's in that place of humility that we find strength, because we are no longer relying on our own abilities, but on His power. God's timing is another critical aspect to consider. A blocked path is often His way of saying, not yet. We live in a culture that values instant gratification, but God operates on a different timeline. He is never early and He is never late. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with ours. Waiting teaches us patience, and patience builds character. It's in the waiting that we learn to trust Him, to rely on Him, and to rest in the assurance that He is in control. Blocked paths also teach us resilience. Life is full of challenges, and not every door will open on the first try. But resilience is not just about pushing through, it's about trusting God in the process. It's about knowing that even when the path is blocked, He is still with you. He has not abandoned you, and He never will. Resilience is built in the waiting, in the trusting, in the believing that He is working all things together for your good. When God blocks your path, He is often protecting you from something you cannot see. We have limited vision, but He sees the end from the beginning. He knows the dangers ahead, the pitfalls you are unaware of, and the consequences you can't foresee. His blocked path is His way of shielding you, of guiding you away from harm and toward His best. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater, something beyond your imagination. Sometimes God blocks your path to remind you of His power. We can become so self-reliant, so confident in our own abilities that we forget who holds the universe in His hands. A blocked path humbles us, reminds us of our dependence on Him, and realigns our hearts with His sovereignty. It's in those moments of surrender that we experience His power in ways we never could on our own. Blocked paths also deepen our faith. Faith is not just about believing in God when everything is going well. It's about trusting Him when nothing makes sense. It's about holding on to His promises when the way forward is unclear. A blocked path challenges us to dig deeper, to lean into His word, and to stand firm in the assurance that He is faithful. Faith is not built on smooth roads. It's forged in the valleys, in the waiting, in the trusting. When God blocks your path, it's not because He has forgotten you. It's because He is leading you. He is guiding you towards something greater, something you can't see yet. His plans are always for your good, even when they don't align with your desires. A blocked path is not the end of the journey, it's a part of it. Trust Him, for He is faithful, and His plans for you are good. Keep walking, keep trusting, and keep believing, for the best is yet to come. When God blocks your path, there is often a greater work taking place, one that extends beyond what you can perceive or comprehend. Every step of your life has been ordained by Him, and each closed door is as intentional as the open ones. A blocked path is not random, it is divinely purposed. It challenges you to move beyond the surface of your desires and ambitions and dive deeper into the spiritual truths that shape your relationship with God. There are times when a blocked path reveals an invitation to grow in wisdom. Our plans are often limited by what we know and see in the moment. We think we understand what is best for us, but our perspective is always incomplete. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows what lies ahead. He knows how every decision, every relationship, and every opportunity will shape your future. When He blocks your path, it is His way of protecting you from decisions that may seem beneficial now but would lead to regret later. Trusting His wisdom means acknowledging that He knows what you do not, and leaning on Him when you cannot see the full picture. The act of waiting in the face of a blocked path is not passive, it is active reliance on God. The world teaches us to equate waiting with wasting time, but in God's kingdom, waiting is preparation. While you wait, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating circumstances, shaping your character, and positioning you for His purpose. Often, the longer the wait, the greater the preparation. Waiting refines you. It teaches you patience, resilience, and endurance. It molds you into someone who can steward the blessings that lie ahead. Blocked paths are also moments where God teaches you to listen. How often do we rush through life, consumed by our own plans and agendas, that we fail to hear His still small voice? When your path is blocked, is an opportunity to pause, to be still, and to seek His guidance. God speaks in many ways through His Word, through prayer, through circumstances, and even through others. A blocked path is often His way of drawing your attention back to Him, reminding you to lean not on your own understanding, but to acknowledge Him in all your ways so He can direct your path. When God redirects you, He does so with precision and purpose. You may not understand why a particular door has closed, but His redirection is never arbitrary. Sometimes the place you thought you were meant to be was only a stopping point, not the destination. A blocked path can be a divine rerouting to something far greater than you envisioned. It may lead you to a deeper calling, a new opportunity, or a greater understanding of His will. What you see as a loss is often a gain in God's greater plan. In moments of frustration, it's easy to question whether God is truly present when your path is blocked. But His presence is often most profound in the silence and stillness. He is Emmanuel, God with us, not just in times of triumph, but also in times of waiting and uncertainty. A blocked path does not mean God has abandoned you. It is often a sign that He is closer than ever, guiding you step by step, even when you cannot see the way forward. Blocked paths are also a test of surrender. Can you trust God enough to let go of your own plans? Can you release the need to control every aspect of your life and place your faith in His sovereignty? Surrender is not a sign of weakness, it is a declaration of trust. It is saying, God, I don't have all the answers, but I know You do. I don't understand why this door is closed, but I trust that You are leading me to something better. In surrender, you find peace, not because the circumstances have changed, but because you have aligned your heart with His will. The journey of faith is not about the destination alone. It is about who you become along the way. A blocked path shapes your character. It teaches you perseverance in the face of challenges, humility in the face of pride, and dependence in the face of self-reliance. It refines your faith, making it stronger and more unshakable. These lessons are not learned in moments of ease, but in seasons of struggle. God uses the blocked path to transform you, to prepare you for the fullness of what He has in store. There are also times when God blocks your path to redirect your focus to Him. In our pursuit of goals, achievements, and relationships, it's easy to become consumed by what we want rather than seeking what God wants for us. A blocked path interrupts that cycle. It forces you to stop and ask, am I pursuing God's will? Or am I chasing my own desires? This moment of reflection can be transformative as it shifts your focus from temporary pursuits to eternal purposes. A blocked path is a call to trust not in what you see, but in who God is. His character is unchanging. He is faithful, just, and good. Even when the circumstances seem unfair or unclear, his nature remains constant. Trusting him means believing that he is working all things together for your good, even when the evidence isn't immediately visible. It is a declaration that you trust his heart, even when you cannot trace his hand. In the waiting, God also teaches gratitude. It's easy to be thankful when things are going well, but true gratitude is cultivated in the moments when you have to trust him despite your circumstances. When you thank him for the closed doors, for the detours, and for the delays, you are acknowledging that his plan is better than yours. Gratitude shifts your perspective. It reminds you that even in the midst of uncertainty, God's goodness is still evident in your life. A blocked path can also be a sign of God's pruning. In John 15, Jesus describes how the Father prunes every branch that bears fruit, so it will bear more fruit. Pruning is not punishment, it is preparation. God removes the things in your life that are not contributing to his purpose. This process can be painful, but it is necessary for growth. A blocked path may be God's way of pruning distractions, toxic relationships, or habits that are hindering your spiritual growth. The beauty of God's blocked paths is that they always lead to his promises. He is a God of covenant, and his promises are sure. While the path may be unclear, his word remains a firm foundation. In moments of uncertainty, cling to his promises. Remind yourself of his faithfulness in the past and trust that he will continue to be faithful in the future. His promises are not limited by time or circumstance. They are eternal and unchanging. When your path is blocked, it is not the end of the story. God's plans for you are far greater than anything you could imagine. He is not just interested in where you are going, but in who you are becoming. A blocked path is his way of shaping you, of drawing you closer to him, and of preparing you for the fullness of his purpose. It is not a setback, but a setup for something far greater. Trust him, and you will see his hand at work in ways that will leave you in awe of his goodness and grace. When God blocks your path, it's often because he desires to recalibrate your vision. Life can pull us in so many directions, often toward things that seem urgent but are not truly important. We chase after what looks good, what feels right, or what promises immediate gratification, but God sees beyond the surface. He knows that some paths we eagerly pursue will lead to emptiness, and others may take us far from the purpose for which we were created. The blockage is his gentle or sometimes firm redirection. It's his way of calling you back to the path that leads to fullness of life, the path he has carved out specifically for you. In moments of frustration with closed doors, it's easy to dwell on what's been lost or denied. But have you considered that God may be blocking your path to prevent you from settling for less than his best? We are often tempted to cling to good things when God is preparing great things. Sometimes we hold on to opportunities, relationships, or plans simply because they're familiar or comfortable. But God, in his infinite love and wisdom, wants more for you than what is merely good enough. A blocked path could be his way of loosening your grip on the lesser, so your hands are free to receive the greater. Every blocked path is an invitation to deepen your dependence on God. We live in a culture that prizes self-sufficiency, where independence is celebrated and reliance on others is often viewed as weakness. But God's kingdom operates on a different principle. Strength is found in dependence on him. When you can no longer forge ahead by your own strength or understanding, you're drawn into a place where you must rely fully on his guidance and provision. It's in that space of reliance that you discover the depth of his faithfulness and the sufficiency of his grace. There is something sacred about the stillness that accompanies a blocked path. When forward momentum halts and you find yourself unable to press ahead, you are given the gift of time to reflect, to pray, and to listen. God often uses these moments to speak in ways that we might otherwise miss. He may reveal hidden areas of your heart that need healing, areas of sin that need repentance, or areas of growth that need nurturing. The stillness becomes a space where transformation takes place, where your heart is realigned with His, and where you begin to see the world and your circumstances through His eyes. A blocked path also challenges your perspective on success. Society often measures its success by progress, achievement, and visible results. But God's definition of success is rooted in faithfulness and obedience. It's not about how far you've come, but about how closely you're walking with Him. When a door closes or a plan fails, it's an opportunity to evaluate whether you've been pursuing worldly success or aligning yourself with God's will. The blockage becomes a moment of clarity, revealing whether you've been striving for your own glory or living for His. God is always working to shape you into the person He created you to be. A blocked path is often His way of refining your character. The delay, the disappointment, the unanswered questions, these are the tools He uses to cultivate patience, humility, and resilience within you. These qualities cannot be developed on the mountaintop. They are forged in the valleys, in the moments when you must trust God even when nothing makes sense. Through the refining process, you are made stronger, not in your own power, but in the power of His Spirit working within you. When you face a blocked path, it's natural to feel a sense of loss or grief over what could have been. But God is not a God of loss. He is a God of restoration. What you perceive as a setback is often a setup for His redemptive work. He specializes in turning what seems broken into something beautiful. The relationship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away, the dream that didn't materialize, each of these can become part of a greater story of redemption and renewal. God does not waste anything. Every tear, every disappointment, every detour is woven into the tapestry of His perfect plan for your life. It's also important to recognize that God's timing is as much a part of His plan as the path itself. A door that is closed today may not be closed forever. Sometimes God blocks your path because the season is not right. He may be working in your heart, preparing you for what lies ahead, or aligning circumstances in ways you cannot see. Trusting His timing requires patience and surrender, acknowledging that His ways are higher than yours and that His plans are always for your ultimate good. When God blocks your path, He often uses it as a teaching moment. He wants you to learn to trust Him, not only for the destination, but for every step of the journey. The process is just as important as the outcome. Along the way, He teaches you to let go of your fears, to silence the lies of inadequacy, and to walk confidently in the identity He has given you. Each blocked path becomes a lesson in faith, reminding you that His promises are true, and that He is always with you, even in the detours. Blocked paths also reveal the depth of your relationship with God. Do you trust Him only when things go as planned, or do you trust Him even when the way is unclear? True faith is not dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in the unchanging character of God. A blocked path tests the foundation of your faith, revealing whether you've built your life on the shifting sands of your own plans or on the solid rock of His Word. There are times when the blockage is not about the path itself, but about your readiness to walk it. God may be doing the work in you that is essential for what lies ahead. He may be equipping you with skills, experiences, or spiritual maturity that you will need to navigate the next season. The waiting and preparation may feel unnecessary or even frustrating, but they are integral to His plan. When you finally step into the open door, you will do so with confidence, knowing that He has prepared you for such a time as this. It's also worth considering that a blocked path is often a reminder of God's sovereignty. We like to believe that we are in control of our lives, but a closed door reminds us that God is the one who holds the keys. He opens doors that no one can shut and shuts doors that no one can open. This is not a limitation, but a comfort, for it means that nothing can thwart His plans for you. His sovereignty ensures that every step you take is guided by His loving hand, even when forward is unclear. When your path is blocked, it's not a moment to give up, but a moment to look up. Fix your eyes on the one who goes before you, the one who hems you in behind and before, the one who holds your future in His hands. Trust that His plans for you are good, that His timing is perfect, and that His purpose will prevail. Though the way may be unclear, His presence is certain, and His promises are unshakable. Stay faithful, stay obedient, and stay hopeful, for the path He is leading you on is greater than anything you could ever imagine. When God blocks your path, it is important to remember that He is not just interested in the destination, but in the journey itself. He cares about who you are becoming along the way. Every blocked path, every closed door, and every delay is an opportunity for growth and transformation. These moments are not wasted. They are shaping you into the person He has called you to be. Often the lessons learned in the waiting and the refinement that comes from trusting Him through uncertainty are far more valuable than reaching the goal itself. A blocked path teaches you to recognize the limits of your own strength and wisdom. It humbles you, reminding you that you are not in control and that your understanding is finite. This humility is a gift because it draws you closer to God. In your weakness, His strength is made perfect. When you reach the end of yourself, you find the beginning of His limitless power and grace. This is where faith is deepened, when you realize that it's not about striving, but about surrendering. Not about figuring everything out, but about trusting the one who already has. God's plans for your life are often bigger than your own, but they require a process of preparation. Sometimes a blocked path is His way of giving you time to grow into the person who can handle the blessings He has in store. You may not yet be ready for the responsibilities, challenges, or opportunities that lie ahead. In His mercy, He blocks the way forward to give you the time and space to develop the character, skills, and maturity you will need. The waiting season is not a punishment, but a preparation. A time when God is equipping you for what's to come. There are moments when a blocked path exposes the motives of your heart. Sometimes what we pursue is not rooted in a desire to glorify God, but in a desire to fulfill our own ambitions, gain recognition, or secure our comfort. God in His love allows these paths to be blocked so that we can examine our intentions. He wants your heart to be fully aligned with His, your desires to reflect His will, and your pursuits to bring glory to Him. This realignment may be uncomfortable, but it leads to greater freedom and joy as you walk in step with His purpose. A blocked path can also be a form of divine protection. There are dangers you cannot see, consequences you cannot anticipate, and traps you might fall into if the way forward were left open. God, in His omniscience, sees what you cannot. What feels like a disappointment may actually be a deliverance. He closes doors not to withhold good from you, but to shield you from harm. Trusting Him means believing that He is for you, that His love is perfect, and that His ways are higher than your own. When the path forward is unclear, it's an invitation to draw closer to God. He uses these moments to cultivate intimacy with Him. In the silence and stillness, you learn to hear His voice more clearly. In the absence of answers, you learn to rely on His presence. The blocked path becomes a sacred space where your relationship with Him deepens and your faith is strengthened. These are the moments when you come to know Him not just as a provider, but as a friend, not just as a guide, but as your greatest treasure. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with your own plans. A blocked path often means not now rather than not ever. There is a season for everything, and sometimes the delay is necessary for the fulfillment of His promise. While you wait, He is working not just in your circumstances, but also in your heart. He is aligning everything according to His perfect will, ensuring that when the time comes, you will be ready to walk through the open door with confidence and purpose. A blocked path reminds you of the importance of perspective. It's easy to focus on what you've lost or what isn't working, but God calls you to lift your eyes to Him. When you shift your focus from the obstacle to the one who holds your future, you begin to see the bigger picture. You realize that the path may be blocked, but God's plan is still unfolding. The detour may be unexpected, but it is not outside His control. The blockage may be frustrating, but it is not the end of the story. Blocked paths are moments of transformation, not just for you, but for those around you. How you respond to the blockage can be a testimony to others. When you trust God in the face of uncertainty, when you praise Him even in the waiting, and when you walk in faith despite the disappointment, you reflect His glory. Your response becomes a witness to His goodness and faithfulness, encouraging others to trust Him as well. God's blocked paths also teach you to hold your plans loosely. We often cling tightly to our own agendas, assuming that our way is the best way. But a blocked path reminds you that God's plans are better. It's an opportunity to release your grip, to let go of control, and to submit to His leading. This act of surrender is not a loss, it's a gain. It frees you from the burden of figuring everything out and allows you to rest in the assurance that He is guiding your steps. Faith grows in the soil of uncertainty. A blocked path challenges you to trust God even when the way forward is unclear. It's in these moments of not knowing that your faith is stretched and strengthened. You learn to rely on His promises, to hold on to His word, and to walk by faith, not by sight. This kind of trust doesn't come easily, but it is in the waiting, the wrestling, and the surrender that your faith matures. When God blocks your path, it's not a punishment, it's an act of love. He is not trying to keep you from something good, but to lead you to something better. He sees the end from the beginning, and His plans are always for your good. The blockage is a reminder that He is with you, that He is for you, and that His purpose for your life will not be thwarted. Trust Him, even when the way forward is unclear, for He is faithful and His plans are perfect. So when God blocks your path, remember this, it is not the end of your story, it is the unfolding of His greater plan. Trust that every closed door, every delay, every redirection is a deliberate act of love from a God who knows your future, sees your potential, and desires your ultimate good. Let the blocked path become a place where your faith is deepened, your heart is refined, and your trust in Him is made unshakable. Do not fight the blockage, embrace it. Do not fear the waiting, grow in it. Do not lament the loss of your plans, rejoice that God's plans are infinitely better. He is not just a God who opens doors, He is also a God who closes them, and both are for your good. So walk forward in faith, knowing that the same God who blocks your path today is the one who will guide you to the perfect destination tomorrow. Trust Him, for His ways are higher, His timing is perfect, and His love for you never fails.